It's almost here, and how far are you ready for this?
Ready. I think our guys are ready too. The preseason's long anymore. Starting last year, you can start at the beginning of October, so you have 6 full weeks before your first game. Seems like we've been practicing for 6 months, and we're still, a little under 3 weeks from our first game. So we're ready to play against somebody else. And, guys have been competing. Team's relatively healthy, which is good. And we're excited about contending for a championship.
Yeah, so long off season, all that aside, preseason goal, you guys ranked fourth. No first place votes, despite going to the championship game last year. How does that motivate you?
Don't put much stock in preseason rankings. We didn't last year when we were down toward the lower half of the league, and we're not going to this year when we're, ranked toward the top. Preseason rankings are for guys like you and for the media to write about things, but the thing about this conference is, and everybody's talking about it, but it's true, it's top to bottom. I think it's for sure as strong as it's been since I've been here in 3 years. When they popped up on the list on the screen, and they started with 11, 10, and 9. 11, 10, and 9, when I saw those names on the screen, I said, I sure as heck don't want to play those guys. Every team in this league can beat you on any given night. So, getting to the championship game last year was a good accomplishment, but not reaching our ultimate goal of going to the national tournament, hopefully leaves a little bit of a sour taste in our mouth and makes us hungry to get back there.
You did get a 20-win season, which is surely impressive, especially in a league as dangerous as Big South is. And you have a lot of guys coming back. But there were rumors and reports about some injuries after the tournaments and in the off seasons. Kind of update us on.
James Bourne had an ACL this summer, so he's out for the entire season. Larry Brown had off-season surgery on his hip, and we don't have an exact time frame on when his return will be, but he's rehabbing extremely hard, and we're hoping to have him back at some point this year. But those are 2 veteran post players that gave us a lot of experience and have logged a bunch of college minutes. So the challenge, I think, for this year's team is to bring our young bigs along. I think we have some very talented front court players, but they're relatively inexperienced. I think the strength of our team is our front court are returning veteran front court guys. We have 3 guys who are double-digit scorers, and a 4th guy in Derrick Henry who didn't play last year that was a double-digit scorer the year before. So Andre Smith, Keon Moore, Keon Johnson, all average between 40 and 45% from 3. So a strength of our team is our ability to shoot the ball. So we should be able to score the ball efficiently, but as always at this program, it's about gritting your teeth and bowing your neck and guarding with toughness as well.
Right. And so Keon Moore was named to second all-conference preseason. Who would you say is the not really undisputed leader, but who do you say stepped up in terms of upperclassmen as being a leader of the team?
Well, I think all of our 4th-year guys, when I say, 4th-year guys, Derrick Henry is a junior, but he's a 4th-year player, is a vocal, emotional leader. Andre Smith has really developed into a leader, mostly by example, because he's a little bit more of a quiet guy. Keon Moore is another passionate, emotional guy that's not afraid to allow his voice to be heard. And then, we talked about those other guys that are out right now with injury, and James Bourne and Larry Brown. Those guys are all leader by example type guys. They just go about their business and their workmanlike and set the tone for the younger guys. So I wouldn't say, last year if you asked me, I would say Joab Jerome hands down. This year I think it's a little bit more by committee, which I think is a good thing. You can spread your leadership out a little bit, and all the young guys can look up to various upperclassmen and know that those guys are going to set an example as to how you work as a Winthrop basketball player.
Right. You said you're talking a lot about your new faces this year. Who's really stepped out in terms of young guys?
Well, our bigs are all young but very talented. Dubi Okeke is a young man that redshirted last year, so he'll be a redshirt freshman this year. He has tons of athletic ability and potential, and obviously, he's a little bit raw, but his best basketball is ahead of him, and he's working extremely hard. Xavier Cooks is a young man from Australia that's an extremely skilled post player. Jarrett Scott's a sophomore, but didn't play a ton of minutes last year, but I think he's really gotten better better and better. Tevin Prescott had a great year for us last year, and we're really going to count on him to be the front court guy that sort of sets the tone from a leadership standpoint for the bigs, specifically at their position. So, all those guys in their own way, in certain practices, like all freshmen do, have ups, have downs, have good days and bad days. And the further we can bring those guys along, and the faster we can bring those guys along, those young big guys, the better off we'll be.
Another new guy that you mentioned is that Price. Just transferred over. What's this latest on the NCAA, like whether he'll be able to play or not?
Yeah, there's no latest. It's sort of the same status right now. The waiver process is in process, and we're hoping to have some finality on that in the next several weeks.
And what kind of impact do you think he can bring?
Well, he's played at a really high level of college basketball for several years, so he brings that sort of experience to the table. He's very large. He's a large human being and takes up a lot of space, but he's not just a space eater inside. He's a skilled guy that can score off either shoulder in the post. He can block shots. He's a very good rebounder. He brings a physicality to our team as well.
Right. And what was the process like of bringing him to Winthrop out of playing in big D1 schools like Louisville and Missouri, the SEC? What ended up bringing him to Winthrop?
Well, I think in recruiting, it's all about relationships. That's what recruiting is all about. It's your ability to build a rapport and establish a connection between the coaching staff, the head coach, the family of the student athlete, and then the student athlete himself. And there was just we hit it off from the first time that we connected, we talked, and I'm very, very proud to coach Zach, and I'm very excited about his future here.
Looking at your schedule, non-conference, got a little bit of a test early on with Clemson.
A little bit?
A little bit.
You a little bit? They're good. I mean, obviously Brad is a phenomenal coach. I have as much respect for him as any coach in the country. And I've played down there at Little John. I've coached down there at Little John many times when I was at Wake Forest, and that's a hostile environment. It's not a fun place to visit. So that's going to be a war.
Right. And looking at conference play, I think a game a lot of people are circling is that one game against Coastal in the regular season. You go to their place, it's a rematch of the championship game. Is that a game you have circled too?
Shoot, you don't, especially in this conference. I know it's probably not what you want to hear from a quote standpoint, but you can't look past anybody. You can't. Now, is Coastal a big rival of ours? Heck yes. You ask our student body, you ask their student body, you ask their players, you ask our players. And that's what's great about college basketball. Those rivalries develop over time because of the success and the caliber of their program and the success and the caliber of our program. It's disappointing that we won't have the teal in our gym this year, and I know our fans and our students aren't excited about that. But with an unbalanced schedule and with 11 teams in the league right now, that's going to be the case from time to time. But that's always a big game when we play those guys, but it's no bigger than the one on December 31st and the one on January 31st. They're all big.
And last one for you. We asked a Twitter question, and Cal got actually on some of this. He was asking about what kind of impact Derek Henry can make immediately following his season.
Yeah, Derek it obviously proved that he can score at a really high level at the college level a couple years ago, and we really needed him to, and we're going to need his scoring punch again. Some of the things that Derek brings to the table that are huge needs of our team and that he innately can do is to provide vocal leadership, kind of infuse, if you will, his toughness and his passion into the rest of the team and into our young players. Because as you know, Derek's a very, very passionate young man. And I've challenged Derek to really be a tone setter on the defensive end for us as well. To be a very good defensive team, which Winthrop always is, you have to have an intelligence about you and you have to have a toughness about you, and Derek has both of those. He's been in our system for several years and knows it like the back of his hand, and he's almost like an extension of the coaching staff when he's out there on the floor. And Derek has that toughness about him where he's willing to accept that challenge. So we're going to need him this year, and he's done a great job this early part of practice of leading, being that productive player on the offensive end like he always is, but willing our team and giving our team courage on the defensive end as well.